the best way to know what kind of content to be producing in the first place is to talk to your customers.
Welcome to Honest E-commerce, where we're dedicated to cutting through the BS and finding actionable advice for online store owners. I'm your host, Chase Clymer, and I believe running an online business does not have to be complicated or a guessing game. If you're struggling with scaling your sales, Electric Eye is here to help. To apply to work with us, visit electriceye.io/connect to learn more. Now let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Honest E-commerce. This is a long time episode in the making. We've rescheduled, I think, 3 times, so this is a record.
Third time's a charm.
Exactly. And the best part is you're here locally in Columbus, Ohio with me, and we couldn't make it work.
Nor have we purposely met up in person.
I know. Yeah, we forgot to get coffee too. So my mystery guest that I haven't introduced yet is Val Geiser. She's the Chief Email Officer of Fix My Churn. They're a team of specialists dedicated to keeping customers around longer through better lifecycle and transactional email campaigns. I can't believe I did that all in one take.
Good job.
Absolutely. So let's get right to it. Why is email important?
Well, probably because everybody thinks about transactional emails, right? Like that's kind of, if you don't have transactional emails, like what are you even doing with your business? But there's so much more to email. And that's what's really fun for me about it is that there's so many opportunities to, especially in today's like data filled world, we have so much information about our customers and it's just a matter of using it. And email is always going to be the best way to reach people. It is direct. You quote, own your list, that it's not run by engagement on a social media platform or, managed by the amount of money you're willing to spend on an ad. Once you have someone's email address, you can talk directly to them. And so email is cool for lots of reasons. And we can talk about maybe some of them, unless this is like a 3-hour show. But yeah, I think email matters a lot. And most people are doing like 5% of what they could do.
Oh, you have no idea. And I will talk about that later. So, what brought you down this path of email and copy and, just the power of owning that relationship with your customer?
The kind of joke about email marketers is that nobody got into email like on purpose. There's no degree in email marketing. Maybe there is actually. I haven't really looked, but it's not something that people necessarily choose to go into. We all kind of just landed here through happenstance and experience. So I got into email by way of working for an ESP. So I was the email marketer, the person sending the emails that did the marketing for the email marketing company. So that was a little bit of a meta job, maybe as meta as you could possibly get, actually. And I just fell in love with email on both sides. So I learned the tip of the iceberg as far as like deliverability. And I have a little bit of knowledge there from being on the backside of an ESP. But then I also, as the person sending and then also having all of these customers who are doing really cool things with their email campaigns, being able to watch what they were doing and see it from the software side. It was just like a crash course in email marketing, and I just fell in love.
I think that's the best way to learn any new skill is just trial by fire. But my project manager, Andrew, would murder me for that opinion.
Well, it was kind of like, where they say the best way to learn a language is to go to the country and, just like immerse yourself. That was definitely that. That's how I learned the language of email.
Absolutely. So speaking of language of email, what's your favorite salutation?
Oh, well, it depends on the brand. Oh, and see, that's the thing. That's the number one answer that I will give you about everything email is it depends. And you have to test it. But as far as like for my own personal use, it's usually, hey.
Yeah.
Or that's a greeting, I guess, right? Salutation is the sign off.
You know what? I don't know.
I think because, right, like the saying is greetings and salutations, right? So that's the hello and goodbye. think salutation is sign off.
Perhaps. I know that Sean, my business partner, broke me of the habit of saying, hey. He thought it wasn't as professional. And then he got me stuck on saying hi.
Hi.
That was 4 years ago. I don't know. But that's, I think it's to each their own. It's your personal brand. You can say what's up if you want.
Right. Exactly. So to that point about it, it's not, quote, not professional. Maybe your brand is one that is purposely not professional. And so, hey, it makes total sense. Like our friend Nick has a client or worked with a client that's very brusque, I suppose. And they, they'll send emails like, hey, moron. And that's how they start their emails to their email list. And it's people sign up for to engage with their brand because of that language. It's not a turn off in that case.
Oh, absolutely. So when we were at the Klaviyo conference a few months ago, I have a terrible perception of time. Chubbies was giving a talk on how they're doing emails and whatnot, and they said that their list has grown a lot, but it hasn't grown along with sales. And what they found is that they're very hilarious and goofy antics in their emails have attracted kind of just people that want to be on the list to see what they're going to say and what they're going to send.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can kind of say whatever you want in your emails. And if your brand is true and you've got your audience and your market picked out correctly, they're probably going to respond to it.
Yeah. And I'd be interested to see how many people join the Chubbies list to just check out their emails and have, enjoy some time in their inbox, and then end up becoming customers, but, not with the intention of becoming customers, but end up buying anyways because of it.
Oh yeah. It's the old, 7 touch points to win a customer, or now it's 12 or 100. I don't know, but it's,
right.
I bet you there are people that signed up just because it was goofy. And then they're like, you know what? I want those shorts.
Yeah. I think that there's several brands I've interacted with lately that make me feel that way. Tushy is one of them.
I am. I'm familiar.
Yeah. So they have some really great language, both in their emails and on their site. And it just makes you feel like, yeah, I want to buy from you guys. I have options in this world, but, and MeUndies is another brand that is a great example of using copy wisely to attract their right customers, whether that person was intent on becoming a customer or not.
Absolutely. So we're talking about all these great brands that are doing it right. Now it's completely 180. That's going backwards, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So to the other side of it is, what about the small business that's just breaking into this something beyond sale?
Yeah.
How do you do from nothing to kind of this relationship building, this personalization, having a great email experience, I guess, for lack of a better words? Where should I start? What are some concepts to keep in mind?
So I think instantly about this company that I recently purchased from and then ended up on their email list. And they're called Compete Every Day. It's a little t-shirt company designed for athletes and, with that mindset of compete every day. And they do such a beautiful job of telling their story. And I think that is what small brands should focus on because, you don't have the ad budget for every single podcast commercial out there like MeUndies does, right? So you have to do something that's different and meaningful to your customers. So Compete Every Day, I don't know how many customers they have or email subscribers they have, but they most likely have less than MeUndies. And so what they do is they tell their story. The founder uses the welcome email to say hi, this is me, and this is what I do and why I care about it and why I make these t-shirts in a world of everybody's making a t-shirt. And by the way, I do some motivational talks for corporations, and you can he even goes so far as if you want to talk to me about those things, hit reply. Otherwise, I'm so excited that you're here. And so he does a little selling of his own side hustle for his t-shirt business in his emails. But the point is that he really focuses on the story of why he started his company. He acknowledges the fact that, me being there on his email list, he notices it. It makes a difference to him, and that there's this community being built around this brand of Compete Every Day, and that's what everybody wants, is to feel like a part of something, feel some belonging. And so he just capitalizes on that and then continues that messaging throughout his entire email experience. And it's just perfect for a small brand.
No, yeah, I fully believe in just, being honest and sharing the story. I honestly think the more and more that I'm getting down this rabbit hole of business and, strategy and marketing, all that fun stuff, it always comes back to the same core concepts always come up, and every strategy or tactic is kind of just based off that. And like the first one is like, people want to do business with people. They want to know there's a human on the other end of that transaction, and they're curious as to, why are they doing this? Why do they deserve my money versus this other company?
Right. And even him talking about like, hey, I do these motivational talks on, if for corporations or whatever. And I think that he even like links to a video of one like on YouTube or something. And he, by doing that, establishes even more humanness, right? So it's not just that he has his signature there and he says his name and he addresses you directly as the reader. All of those things are important. But then as the reader, I have this opportunity to go watch a video of him, and he becomes a real human being in my mind. And then when I'm thinking about where I'm going to buy my next t-shirt to work out in, that's the company that comes to mind first and foremost. I mean, even just in this example, like you talking to me about what businesses are doing it really well, that came to mind instantly.
Oh, yeah. So you mentioned in kind of the notes here that there's a simple solution to stop your brand from feeling like a vending machine. I feel like that's going to be a quick win for a lot of our listeners.
Oh, yeah.
What is that simple solution?
To not just email your list when you have something to sell them. So finding that way that your brand can add value beyond your products and delivering that value to your customers. So it's a simple yet possibly complex solution, because it can be difficult to land on like, well, we're in Tushy's example, we're a bidet company. Like, how can we add value to our customers? Well, you know what they do is they take everything they can out of the news about, quite honestly, about poop, and put it into a regular newsletter for their customers. So they don't have, well, they actually just launched a toilet paper. So now they have a subscription model in their business. But it's not like you're going and buying a bidet every month. So they want to keep you engaged so that when you're thinking about gifts, or when, you, I don't know, build an addition and have another bathroom. I don't know when you would need more than one, but they engage you and they become the leading authority on poop. And that's what they're solving, the problem that they're solving with their product. And so they go out and seek out those resources to become that authority in your inbox. They recently sent an email about how there's a car company that's experimenting with using cow manure to provide fuel for cars. And like this, I mean, it's related. It has nothing to do with human poop, but it means something to them, right? So, and it probably means something to their customers, and it's interesting. And again, I can recall that from reading one email a couple of weeks ago here in this conversation. So it obviously makes a difference.
No, I think that's a fantastic strategy. And also congrats on being the first person on the podcast to say poop.
Yay, multiple times.
Yeah, I know. I'll make sure that you get a banner. So I think that, that almost goes hand in hand with just the power of like having a niche and the power of having a brand. If you're kind of if you're an internet bodega, is my term I like to use for, you're selling everything and you don't really have a story around it. It's harder to create a strategy around your email. Whereas, Tushy and these other examples, they have they have a brand, they have like a particular niche, a particular market. So it's a lot easier to find reasons to email your customer, give them strategy, give them news, potentially create content that plays into what your audience wants to see. So I think that's just something to keep in mind as any listeners evolving their business and thinking about where they want to go with it. It's like, if you've got like a niche market, or, you've got your segment pretty picked out and it's pretty solid and it's working for you and you're getting your sales, it makes it so much easier to make that content down the line.
Yeah, I think the best way to know what kind of content to be producing in the first place is to talk to your customers. It's another thing to add to your to-do list when, especially for small brands, you're probably wearing multiple hats, if not all of the hats of your business. And going out and having meaningful conversations with your customers can be challenging when you're just trying to get everything done that you need to get done. But it does make all the difference. It can help you discover what they need to hear about. It's a little bit more on the app side of things, but I had a client that I worked with recently that we did some customer interviews for them, and their app is very habit based. And so it's like a daily activity kind of thing. And so they knew habits were really important to their customers. But the one thing that they didn't realize that we found in doing customer interviews was several of their customers said over and over again, I'm very OCD. They use that term a lot. And so we were able to create content around habit building and, wanting things a particular way and spending a lot of time on a thing. So whether they realized it or not, that those are particular traits of their customers. And so instead of just continuing to push them into the app, we were using emails to talk about things that mattered to their customers and made them feel like, oh, this brand really gets me. And so, they understand me. I'm going to continue to engage with this brand instead of just continuing doing the same old habits that we already existed, establishing new ones with this brand in mind.
Let's be honest today. All of your customers are going to have questions. And what are you doing to manage all those questions? Do you have a help desk for your business? One of our sponsors of today's episode is Gorgias, and Gorgias is the #1 rated help desk for e-commerce. It integrates seamlessly with Shopify. We have installed it on a bunch of stores. It's also used by brands like Movement and Rothy's. And what it does is it takes all of your customer insights and information, brings it into one amazing dashboard so you can solve their problem as quickly as possible. If you want to give Gorgias a try, visit gorgias.link/honest. That's GORGIAS.LINK/HONEST to get your second month free. And just going back to the talking with your customers, that helps beyond your email. That helps throughout your business, from your product design to your marketing. Through Facebook and Instagram, you can find the exact phrases that people are saying. That can translate over to your what you want to say in your emails. There's so much stuff you're going to find out just by talking to your customers. So making an effort to do that and finding a way to do that making it part of your business and doing it every couple of months is going to work so well for you.
Yeah, I think if you can schedule a day of it and put it on your calendar every quarter to have a couple of customers that you're interviewing on, either a day or 2 days, and just, take those insights. Yeah, we do these interviews for the purpose of writing better onboarding emails for our clients, but they take the transcripts and the survey responses that we give them and apply it to their marketing messaging on their website, to their sales teams going out and how they talk to people. I even had a client completely pivot their product because of those interviews, where they said, wow, everyone is really focused on this thing, so we're gonna double down over here and leave this other stuff behind.
Yeah, and that's the power of just asking the people that are actually giving you their hard-earned money for your product why they did it.
Yeah, that's right.
So to change up a little bit, we're 1 week from Black Friday, 1 week and 2 days, which I'm super excited about. Just, this is the busiest season for us. I don't know about yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So thanks for fitting me in. But, this isn't going to come out until January, right? So I think in January, the holiday season's gone. There's been so much sales and it's so many blasts about these, flash sales, whatever. You mentioned here that there are certain times when you shouldn't send a promotional email. So let's kind of explore that.
Yeah. So I think it's really important to be aware of what's going on in the world. And I see this happen with too many brands. And unfortunately, it's actually the bigger brands that fall prey to this, is that there's something really meaningful happening in the world or even in a particular part of the world. So like a hurricane on the East Coast, or forest fires in California, or Brexit in the UK. Like, there's all kinds of both natural and man-made disasters happening. And when you're sending promotional emails in the midst of all of that, it's not only incredibly distracting for your customers, it's quite often seen as very rude and out of touch. So that's that whole, like, you need to understand your customers. All they want to feel is seen and heard. If you can help them feel that by acknowledging what's going on in their world, that makes a huge difference. So there are ways to do it that, instead of sending your standard email that you were going to send, let's say it's, forest fires in California, you can, to that portion of your subscribers, or even to your global subscriber list, you can say, like, hey, we're recognizing this big problem going on. So we're going to stay out of your inbox, but we want to let you know that if you choose to purchase from us during this week, or this set period of time, we're going to make a donation to the Red Cross or to a support group in that area, and get your customers involved in, you're acknowledging what's going on, and then you have an opportunity to get your customers involved in helping. It just creates such a feeling of community again. So I think it's really important to know what's going on in the world, and be careful about sending promotional emails during challenging times, which these days could be every day.
Yeah, and that's definitely something to keep in mind. And it's something I honestly haven't thought about too often. So, you might have changed up my strategy a bit, but I'm going to take that to heart and really use it. That's a fantastic, it's not an idea or a strategy or anything. It's just being cognizant of what's going on in the world.
Yeah, I think it's just being like creating a humanness inside of the box of our computers. I mean, everybody thinks about email as so, like, it's just this thing. It's this thing we do as a business. But you have to remember that there's a human person going into their inbox, opening the emails and reading them. And even though you have this, like, quote list, and we're going to send it, if I hear the word blast one more time, it's just like the worst possible word you can use. But I hear it a lot. People say, like, we're going to blast our list. Well, no, you're going to send an email to, like, people on the other side of the email don't think about themselves as part of a list. They think about themselves as one of your customers or one of your potential customers. And so how are you going to communicate with that individual person on the other side of the email?
Yeah. And you know what? I think that is a great segue into, I know one of your favorite topics is, what is the framework that is going to help customers make more money? And I've heard you talk on this before, so I'm excited to hear it again.
Oh, yeah. So I think the best thing that you can do is create a really strong welcome sequence for your customers. And this is where I think a lot of e-commerce brands get it wrong, quite honestly, is that we place an order, and then the emails that we get are the only emails we get are related to our order. And I think that it's really important to make sure that those take precedence over anything else. But once that order has been delivered, that's your opportunity to come in and say hello. Well, say hello first of all as soon as they place the order, but then after the order's been delivered, continue to give them those value adds and mix it up with the promotional emails so that they don't just feel like I'm just a wallet, I'm just a credit card that I enter into your website and all you want from me is money. Give them opportunities to engage, whether it's, a lot of brands have like a Facebook group or something for their customers where they can all interact together. If it's an Instagram hashtag that they can post to, creating a sense of community and then giving back to them through the value add content. I use a framework called the dinner party strategy, where you can kind of think about your welcome emails, your onboarding emails like a dinner party. You don't walk up to somebody at your front door and serve the main course before they've walked in your house. You invite them in, you offer drinks and appetizers that, complement the meal. And then you all sit down at the table and serve the meal. And there's dessert and there's conversation and there's all these things that make up a dinner party. And it's not just about having the quick sandwich on the way out the door. It's a dinner party is a event for a reason. And you're onboarding, that initial touch point where your customers are experiencing you for the first time, has to be a focus for your brand. Otherwise, you do run the risk of being just like a commodity, a marketplace that they go to once and never come back to.
And if you're interested in this dinner party strategy, you can actually find it on Val's website. So that's fixmychurn.com/TDPS, or the dinner party strategy. So I would highly recommend checking that out. I actually took a look at it a few months ago. It's a fantastic little framework to help you wrap your head on how to write this stuff. So before I let you go, I do have one more question for you. These days, something that's really kind of popular that people are adding onto their business, or the whole basis of a business, is kind of the subscription-based service, subscription product businesses. Do you have any tips specifically for those types of businesses?
Oh, yeah. Subscription models are perfect for ongoing email. So you have, one of the biggest problems with subscriptions is customer retention. And this is where the opportunity to engage becomes extra important. So I think about two different phases of, you have that I call it onboarding welcome email phase of when they have made their first purchase. So first purchase to second purchase. Everyone talks about second purchase in the e-commerce world. But what I think is really interesting beyond second purchase is that subscription. And for a lot of brands, it's kind of that like 6 to 9 month mark. Maybe your brand is more or less, but you want to know where that cliff is, where customers start to fall off, and create messaging for them that is specific to their needs, their interests, the way that they're using the product, and not just make it a 12-step process to change a subscription once they log into their customer portal on your website. Don't make it the most difficult thing ever to change or cancel a subscription. A lot of people think about impacting churn from that standpoint. Let's just make it really hard to cancel, or give them lots of options so that they feel like they never want to cancel. To me, that's a little too late. If you can message them prior to that point where they start to drop off, then you get a lower churn, because they are thinking about your brand in a meaningful way. They're making decisions based on the relationship that they have with you, and not based on it's just really hard to cancel, so I'm not going to. It's very, very hard to churn away from a relationship with a person. It's hard to say, hey, Chase, I don't want to buy your thing anymore. Can you just turn it off for me? But it's a lot easier to go into a portal, click, and turn something off. If all you are is a product, and the back end is a piece of software that does it, then that's really simple to walk away from. It's much harder to walk away from a human being.
Absolutely. So before I let you go, is there anything else that you think would be valuable to the listeners in regards to email, or just anything else that's on your mind that you think is worth sharing?
Yeah, I think, to that point about subscription models, look for the ways to build a subscription in. Going back to Tushy, we talked about how they added this toilet paper option, which they certainly didn't have to do, but it creates a subscription for them where their brand is now front and center every single time somebody renews the product. So every month, their logo is showing up inside someone's house. And it just keeps the brand top of mind, especially if you have something that people don't purchase all that often. Like, let's say, you sell furniture, couches and chairs and things. Maybe you have a pillowcase monthly subscription where they can change out their pillowcases that on the 12 by 12 square pillow that you give in every order. Giving them a different pillowcase option. And that can be something that's set to monthly, 3 months, 6 months. So there's lots of options to create a subscription and create messaging to your regular existing customers about the subscription and how it benefits them and how it speaks to what their greater needs are. But always go back to the customer to figure out what that subscription should be and try it, right? Like the worst thing that happens is that, you get a handful of people who are interested and you decide, hey, we're not going to go this route anymore. But I think the most important thing to do in email is to test things and see what sticks. And you can do that a lot more easily if you understand your customers through those interviews.
Val, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing all these awesome insights.
Hey, thanks for having me, Chase.
You're welcome. I cannot thank our guests enough for coming on the show and sharing their journey and knowledge with us today. We've got a lot to think about and potentially add into our businesses. Links and more information will be available in the show notes as well. If anything in this podcast resonated with you and your business, feel free to reach out and learn more at electriceye.io/connect. Also, make sure you subscribe and leave an amazing review. Thank you.